WWE lost a ton of superstars in 2024, whether it was due to non-renewal of their contract or a release. There was a plethora of talent departures. Bobby Lashley, Ricochet, Shelton Benjamin and MVP all went to AEW and seem to be doing quite well, and Xia Li, who is now known as Lei Ying Li, departed and went to TNA. In addition to those superstars who were lucky enough to find an opportunity at a new company, superstars such as Tegan Knox, Baron Corbin and Indy Hartwell are still on the market, although I think Indy Hartwell has recently signed for TNA. Baron Corbin seems to be enjoying some martial arts at the moment, so, good for them. As the company continues to grow and head in a new direction, some of the wrestlers sadly won't fit the vision for the future. Looking at WWE's current roster, welcome to Honor Wrestling Club, and here is our list of 10 wrestlers most likely to leave WWE in 2025. Welcome to the club. In number 10, we have Karrion Kross, and it will be the end of the Final Testament. Since debuting in early 2020, Karrion Kross has accomplished a lot early in his career, by winning the NXT Championship in August 2020. After defeating Keith Lee for the title, he immediately had to vacate it due to a shoulder injury. As one of the few wrestlers to hold the NXT title more than once, Kross was quickly called up to the main roster, where he struggled to find his place and was then released in 2021. He'll be brought back by Triple H on an episode of SmackDown in August 2022. Since returning, he still hasn't been able to have a legitimate feud and appears less and less on television, mostly backstage. On screen at the moment, I don't really know what his character is. He just kind of walks around backstage and says things to people. I don't know. His current character kind of seems to be trying to do a curse of Karrion Kross, and there's potential there. It'll be interesting to watch how they write this character to see if he starts to feud with anyone, or if his contract will expire and not be renewed. Time will tell, and looks like the sand time may be expiring. In number 9 we have Kiana James, who's a perfect example of being called up to the main roster too early. Kiana James is a former NXT Women's Tag Team Champion with Fallon Henley. She had a short stint in AEW under the name Zatina K before signing with WWE and joining the NXT brand. The character the WWE built for James was a smart business executive. In 2 years on NXT, she competed for opportunities at the NXT Women's title, but the closest she came was a title match against Tiffany Stratton that she ended up losing. After 2 years on NXT, James was shockingly called up to the main roster for Raw in the 2024 WWE brand draft. It was a shock because it felt like she had some missed opportunities on the brand, and so many wrestlers, when they're called up too early, get lost in the shuffle. Since being called up, we watched her win a debut match against Natalya, some backstage segments where she offered Raw General Manager Adam Pearce help. Since then, she's sadly had an injury, and it's been over 7 months since we've seen her on the show. So we'll see how WWE books her character when she comes back, which apparently she's been cleared now, so she should be back soon. In number 8 we have Montez Ford, and he's ready to be a solo star. This is probably the most unlikely to happen on this list, as Montez Ford has spent his entire WWE career as a tag team with Angelo Dawkins as part of the Street Profits since 2016. Since then, they've made history as one of 3 tag teams to become WWE Triple Crown Tag Team Champions. They're currently reigning as SmackDown Tag Team Champions. I've been enjoying a decent run on TV. The SmackDown Tag Division was excellent in the build-up to WrestleMania. Travelling back to the 2023 Elimination Chamber event, however, Ford was one of 6 men who competed for the United States Championship. It was one of the very few matches we were able to watch Ford showcase his abilities as a solo competitor, and he won over the WWE Universe with his performance. Over the past year, though, he's been noticeably getting frustrated with how they've been booked. In an interview with the Daily Star, he expressed his feelings. He said, he feels like he's the greatest athlete in the professional wrestling circuit. I feel like I'm the greatest entertainer in the professional wrestling circuit. I feel like I'm the greatest of all time. I feel my confidence is at an all-time high. I feel like I'm the only one consecutively that's been dealing with the bloodline and every variation of the bloodline for the last 4 years, Ford said. It's clear he's ready for more opportunities as a solo competitor, but WWE struggles to see him as more than a tag team wrestler. I think WWE did want to make him a solo star, but they didn't have plans for Dawkins, so Ford then opted to stay together. However, if things keep trending this way they are, Ford could be wrestling for another company in 2025. However, I do feel like this is the most unlikely one on the list, given the tag division is pretty good now on SmackDown, so he might be a bit happier. In number 7, we have Braun Strowman, and the monster among men needs to be in a title scene at least. Braun Strowman was once associated with the Wyatt family and has since gone on to do some incredible things in WWE. Let's see, he's won the Money in the Bank, he's been a Raw Tag Team Champion, an Intercontinental Champion, the WWE Universal Champion, and most importantly of all, he won the Greatest Royal Rumble. After being released all the way back in 2021, Strowman was brought back in 2022 with a surprising return. Unfortunately, he was quickly sidelined due to a neck injury and took a hiatus for neck surgery. Since being brought back, Strowman hasn't really been booked to do all that much. The best thing about his return was his violent yet exciting feud with Bronson Reed. He's now on SmackDown and was feuding with Carmelo Hayes. At 41 years old, though, Strowman does have a couple of years left, and being a top guy for a company again has to be in the back of his mind. He now has the chance to find a new company to be that top guy in a company, given that he was released earlier this year. In number 6, we have Blair Davenport, as she's ready to be a star again like she was in NXT UK. Blair Davenport has all the potential to be a top star in the women's division. Outside of WWE, she's won several championships, but is best known for her tenure in World Wonder Ring Stardom in Japan. In WWE, her highlight was the NXT Women's Iron Survivor Challenge win that earned her a title shot against Lyra Valkyria for the NXT Women's title, which she lost. She's been booked very well on 2 separate occasions. The first was when she first started in NXT UK. She started off undefeated and earned a shot at the NXT Women's title just to lose to Mika Satomura. The second was when she revealed as the parking lot attacker on NXT. Since then, she's kinda just got lost on a SmackDown due to a premature call-up. Since she's already made a couple of appearances in AEW, if opportunities don't arise soon, we could see her elsewhere in 2025, and we are likely to due to her being released earlier in the year. In number 5, we have Apollo Crews. He's never really been able to find the spotlight he had in NXT. Apollo Crews has had some solid runs, and he got a run with the Intercontinental and United States Championships. Both of those title runs were 4 and 5 years ago, though. The Nigerian Prince era has been the most successful gimmick they've come up with for him. At once they sent him back to NXT and rebranded him into a character that wrote journals and went fishing, and he hasn't fully recovered from that. The problem is, they can't really go back to the Nigerian Prince gimmick because that is too similar to what they're building with Obafemi. Since returning to the main roster on SmackDown, he's been in a tag team with Baron Corbin, and now is in mostly dark matches. It's starting to feel like he's getting lost again on the roster. I think he's still employed there and is currently out injured, so we'll have to see when he gets back. But, yeah, I guess we'll just see. In number 4, we have the Good Brothers Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, and they have a world-class tag team that deserve a title run. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, aka the Good Brothers, have been nothing on as a team since beginning teaming together in 2013. After becoming an iconic tag team in New Japan Pro Wrestling as part of the original Bullet Club, they signed with WWE as part of the New Japan Pro Wrestling Mass Exodus in 2016. They would be released in 2020 as part of the pandemic cuts, and they would win the Raw Tag Team Championships twice. They were then brought back to WWE in 2022 after spending 2 years in TNA and having appearances on AEW. Since Anderson and Gallows have been brought back to WWE, they've mostly been aligned with AJ Styles, with him missing time due to injury and then their kind of disappointing split up. They haven't really been featured on television much, save for a brief NXT run. There are not many real tag teams left these days on professional wrestling that are just thrown together. Unfortunately, Anderson recently had to get shoulder surgery and will be out of action until after Mania. It'll be interesting to see if Triple H would have given them a good run had he personally brought them to WWE twice, or the Good Brothers are now going to have to find another home, and they've now left the company. In number 3, we have Sonya Deville, as Pure Fusion Collective haven't done anything for anyone in that faction. As a contestant from WWE Tough Enough back in 2015, God, do you remember Tough Enough? Sonya Deville impressed WWE with her toughness and lovable character. She spent time as both a general manager for Raw and a wrestler for all 3 brands. She's been through multiple groups including Absolution, Fire and Desire and Pure Fusion Collective. Those names got progressively worse. As an experienced martial arts fighter, she has the toughness that seems like it would be easy to build from. It's clear that WWE saw her as a leader of a faction, but none of them have sustained long-term success. Pure Fusion Collective consisted of her, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, and now only Zoe Stark remains in the company. They started building them strongly, and after a red-hot booking to start, they lost all momentum. At just 31 years old, Deville still has many years of wrestling ahead of her. Even through her injuries, she's still quite solid in the ring. Before her ACL tear, Chelsea Green was her women's tag team champion partner. Piper Niven took Deville's spot when she left, and they've had an excellent chemistry since, so I wouldn't be breaking up Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. The decision has been made and Deville has now left the company, so Deville now can take some time and think about what is next for her in her career. In number 2, we have a Moss, and he made a statement with his appearances in Japan earlier in the year. WWE was on a roll with the early booking of a Moss. They introduced him as AJ Styles' bodyguard and it worked. They also won the Raw Tag Team Championships. He appeared to be a dominant giant that nobody wanted to face. He had a decent feud with Bobby Lashley, but other than that, he hasn't been on television much since switching to SmackDown. The Nigerian giant has recently been making appearances in Japan in Pro Wrestling Noah. He became the GHC Tag Team Champions, but relinquished his title just before the Royal Rumble and teased a return to WWE. Since joining WWE in 2019, they haven't really been able to book him consistently, but luckily for him, WWE's deal that allows wrestlers to compete in Japan has resurrected his career. Perhaps his future is elsewhere, not with WWE. I don't really know what they're doing with the Moss, to be fair. I'm sure the Homo sapiens will be able to tell me. And in number 1, we have Pete Dunne, as leaving Butch behind may not have been enough for the Bruiserweight. Pete Dunne is one of the best wrestlers in the world today. If you don't believe me, just go back and watch the 2017 UK Championship Tournament and the match at TakeOver Chicago he has with Tyler Bate. Both excellent. The 31-year-old has spent time with many different independent promotions before he signed with WWE in 2017. He had an incredible reign as the NXT United Kingdom Championship after defeating his former tag team partner Tyler Bate in one of the best matches in the show's history. In addition to that, he is also a former WWE Cruiserweight Champion. Although it was a fun and memorable gimmick, the biggest mistake might have been changing his name to Butch and aligning him with Sheamus and Ridge Holland to create the Brawling Brute by giving him a Scrappy Doo-esque character. He then had a short stint as a tag team with Tyler Bate called the New Catch Republic. As one of the best in-ring performers in WWE, Dunne deserves much better booking. He's put in the time and proven he can be a star on his own. For whatever reason, WWE books him in comedy segments. Eventually, WWE must put him in the mid-card scene and compete for a title. In other wrestling promotions, he would be one of the top stars. And there you have it, there's the list. So what do you think? Who's most likely to leave WWE of the ones who still remain? Be sure to let us know in the comment section down below. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button if you're new around here. That's all for now, so thank you for watching and we'll see you later. Welcome to the club.